We gotta restart them.
Okay, you ready? You ready? Howdy, y'all!
Subscribe and all.
Good morning, YouTube. Thanks for joining us here on Escaping Reality. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button so you can catch more content in the future. But for now, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So today we're going to be talking about ferments. Actually, some of the footage that you're going to be seeing I filmed at the beginning of last week, and I made 3 jars total, and this is the only jar that we have left, and we dug into it last night. We have been absolutely loving ferments for a couple of reasons. First being the taste. Ferments have a pretty awesome sourness that a lot of Western flavor profiles just don't really have. But more importantly, number 2 being the gut health. When our garden stopped producing, we did not have a lot of fresh food because I did not do a lot of canning or storing for over the winter. And we started noticing that our stomachs were just feeling off, we were tired, just feeling really out of it. And so I started doing some research about how ferments are full of good live bacteria that help with your gut health. Gut health is so important, and I'll link a few things down in the description box for multiple reasons. When you have a healthy gut, it's full of bacteria, good bacteria, that will help your immune system. It also helps you communicate with your brain through hormones. So I'll link, like I said, some of that down in the description box below if you'd like to read more of it. But we have noticed an improvement, a huge improvement on our health, the way we wake up in the morning, our mood. We really enjoyed it. So let's go ahead and jump into what you're going to need. So first off, you're going to need your container. I like to use a jar. And you're going to need a lid. If you use a lid, you are going to have to come in and either burp it, so loosen it every day just to make sure it doesn't, the bubbles don't build up pressure. I use the one that has the removable lid, and I just leave it on loosely so it can vent. If you don't want to use a lid, you can just use a coffee filter and a rubber band, something similar. And you're going to need your veggies. Pretty much any veggie will really work. We have tried quite a few now, kale, but our favorite right now is the red cabbage. It has like a pepperiness to it. It's amazing. So I'll go ahead and do some cabbage, and usually I'll throw in like a few radishes. It's really whatever you want on this. You're going to need some salt. You're going to want some good salt, preferably not just white table salt. If you can, avoid that. And then you're going to need a bowl and a knife. You're going to want to start by chopping your vegetables. I like mine a little bit chunkier because as the fermentation process continues, it will start to break down a little bit. So if you leave it chunkier, you'll end up with more of a crispy veg, versus if you do it a little thinner, you'll have a little bit more of a softer veg by the end of it. Next, we're going to add our salt. There is a ratio, and I'll go ahead and link the exact ratio down in the description box. For the most part, I do it by taste. You don't want it to be overly salty, but it should have a little bit of saltiness. And you can mix it with your hands. I'm actually using a muddler here because you want to rub that salt into the cabbage and let it start to break down the cabbage. This will help start to produce the brine. So just going to give it a good smush and let it sit for a while. After it's set and it starts to break down, we're going to start to pack our jar. Now, this packing process is kind of important. We want to make sure there are no air bubbles anywhere in there, so we're going to pack it very, very tight. This is also where I will use my fingers. I will poke little holes all the way down to help the air escape. And as you're doing this, you'll start to see the salt pull out the brine. This will make a beautiful purple brine by the time it's done. And so, like I said, we're going to pack. You want to start seeing that brine come up over your vegetables. That is what's going to help keep it sanitary and fermenting. You want the brine to completely cover your vegetables with no air pockets in between. And when you check it daily, it's a good chance to see if you see any air bubbles. You can always open it up and come back in with a chopstick or a knife. And then once the brine is up over the vegetables, I'll take a big leaf and cover the top of it to push everything underneath the brine. Alright, so like I said, once you get your ferments done, if you're using a lid, leave the lid on loosely. You want it to be able to vent because it is going to start to create some carbonation in there. You can leave it on the counter anywhere from 3 to, I've seen people do some for months. For us, it's usually around 5 to 7 days is probably when I think it's okay. And then we'll just go ahead and stick it in the fridge. Once you do that, it stops the fermentation process, so it'll last for a while in the fridge. You definitely want to keep an eye on it though. I come and check mine every day. I leave it in a dark cupboard. You don't want it any light hitting it. You want to check it every day. You don't want to see any mold growing on it. If you see any like blue or green colored, that's not good. Sometimes you will see a yeast form, like a light creamy kind of yeast, and that's okay. That's a good thing to have in there. But if you start seeing any discoloration, there's debate on if you can just scoop it out and it's still good or not. I'll leave that up to you. Sometimes if I think it's funky, I will just go ahead and scoop off the top. We eat it, we're fine. So thank you for joining us. Let me know if you decide to try it. If you have any recipes you'd like to share. This is something that we're going to be incorporating into our diet every day. So thank you and have a great day.